Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to our AIM Florida chapter August monthly webinar. We're very pleased to have with us today Ralph Gammon and Johan Hefner from Infosource. And as people are joining, we'll tell you a little bit about the Association for Intelligent Information Management, AIM Florida chapter, and what we're all about and why we make this part of our education program here at AIM. Ours is to serve the intelligent information management community and also the women in intelligent information management. And so we act as a liaison across many fronts. So ours is all about providing research, compliance resources through our education programs, including providing consultants views through webinars in that way. And we also provide documentation along the lines of process innovation, and also help promote the certified education courses through AIM International. We're also focused on digital transformation in its various forms, including that of robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, cloud and cloud capture, and many other ways through where the AIM Florida chapter can serve. So please count on us at any time. And just briefly to present to you our board members. I'm Craig Lau, president of the chapter. B. John Masters is the vice president of the AIM Florida chapter. Melissa Dieter is our director of information governance and liaises with the ARMA groups, as we have quite a few members who are also part of ARMA. Also, Aaron Dempsey is director of marketing communications. Bob Larrabee is our senior director and advisor to the channel and a member of the AIM company of fellows. We also liaise with the Foundation Global Group, who is in practice of expanding AIM knowledge, the knowledge base and capabilities to Latin America, and at this point, very active in doing so in Puerto Rico, as well as Colombia. So we're always happy to have them on our board meetings and providing advice. So it gives you a background, and we're at your service here at any time at the AIM Florida chapter. And we look forward to being part of our monthly meetings, which will take place again on September 30th, Thursday. That will be Larry Cohn, and we'll hear more about that later. So, as you know, you have all of our practices at your fingertips through our monthly webinars and events. So we thank you for joining here today. And with that, I'll present to you our CEO and Managing Director at Infosource, Mr. Johan Hefner.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good night. As I see that there are some from some from Japan. Good morning, Aaron, Craig, and Ralph. Thank you, Craig, for the opportunity to present with a few words our company, Infosource. My name is Johan Hefner. I joined Infosource in 2004 as a regional manager, analyst, covering a few countries like Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Bulgaria, and Romania over the years. And in 2011, with the new ownership of the company, I was promoted first marketing development director at Infosource, and then 2019 I became the CEO of Infosource. That's not that long. Infosource, maybe you can switch to the next slide. Yes, so Infosource is a privately owned corporation founded in 1985 by Jacques Levey, a gentleman from California, and Jean-Roch Naville from Geneva, Switzerland. Our headquarters are in Geneva, Switzerland, which is a perfectly centralized position for Europe, a bit expensive though. Original purpose of the company was to provide a more accurate market data to the office equipment manufacturers. Our coverage was long time focused on EMEA, and the industry coverage was about copiers, SFPs, inkjet, and well, overall office equipment. We try to differentiate ourselves, bringing leadership through innovation. This means that we have really pulled forward. We have been kind of the towing vehicle of analyst activity in Europe. With that, we reached a unique research methodology. You can switch to the next slide. So the particularity of the Infosource methodology is that we try to explain the origins to understand the difference. So Infosource, when joining the market in 1985, we had a similar situation in the USA, Europe, and Asia. Market share was mostly based, and market share information was mostly based on educated estimations. We had little to no guidance from the manufacturers, from the vendors. If any guidance was given, it was extremely top level, sometimes only 2 or 3 categories. So from the start, Infosource aimed to change that, to be different. And so we build up a network of local sources for each industry. So we were traveling out to collect sellout data by model in the various countries we were covering. So as you can see on the slide, initially 15 Western European countries. And we continue to continuously develop this local network. Just as an estimation, in 2017, we estimated that we were holding 1,600 face-to-face meetings per year to collect, validate data, and to obtain additional information for our reporting. So the building and maintaining of relationships with major vendors and distributors in the covered areas is really the key to the Infosource methodology of market research. The network we are maintaining provides additional sales data. So we not only receive sales data, but we also use the data to validate headquarter data we are receiving, for example, to fine-tune data, or sometimes even to challenge centralized guidance we are receiving today. For example, if a vendor ships to country A, but the distributor re-exports to country B, with our research method, we can track these kind of changes. This is something that is happening, for example, frequently in the European Union, in the United Arab Emirates, or for example, also in South Africa. The local contacts also help us greatly with our short-term projections. So Infosource publishes not only the actual sales data, but also an estimation on short-term projections 6 months ahead. The local market trends for each industry. We receive data on vertical distribution, sometimes about specific local governmental policies and public tenders. So we obtain with these local contacts a lot of knowledge on local developments, and that helps us also, for example, to produce our long-range forecasting with a good confidence. So we had a few milestones here, as you can see, and so when I joined Infosource in 2004, the geographical coverage was 32 countries. The industry coverage included mobile phones, cordless phones, and well, industrial print at Infosource was still at very early stages. We had, though, innovative reports back then, for example, like a network operator report. That was a report where we sized the various network operators on the mobile phone market. That was a very interesting report we did there. But then, well, over the years, the traditional mobile phone market declined. It moved over to smartphones with initially few models, and well, we had argument back then with the market research director about Apple, for example, who the market director said that Apple would only sell small volumes. He didn't see them as a big player in the market, and well, we all know, of course, where they are today. So with the decline of traditional customers like Siemens, Motorola, Sony, and Alcatel, we moved away from these areas. The same goes for some other industries that little by little declined. For example, I mean the cordless phones, matrix printers, line printers. So these markets we didn't cover very much longer. So we looked into new markets, and for example, one of them were the large format printer markets. So there we greatly invested, and so we set a leading segmentation for the industry. We also increased the coverage of the presentation in digital press, and we developed greatly the document management scanner hardware market. But well, as you can see, at the moment we are still only at hardware. But well, in 1998 we had a great move by presenting internet-based services to our customers. So that was really a big step forward, and that led in 2003 to launch the Internet Database Service (ISDB) of Infosource. This was a great success, and actually in 2005 led to Infosource stopping to ship paper-based reports. We managed to convert our customers to the online database, and so we didn't have to send out paper-based reports any longer to our customers. So another big move from Infosource was by publishing data by model. That wasn't really available back then, and with the customers accessing our data online, that helped us to have great flexibility and obviously to handle also a great volume of data. So originally the vendors were rather against providing data by model. They like to see others, but they didn't really want to share their own. So that took some time to convert, but showing the advantages of the database over the years convinced the vendors to accept the change. So we had a better service by providing the data by model. And so we had only, we were able to provide actually additional service by adding filters to the database. So the client could actually obtain not only a standard service, but a client-specific service. The client could ask for specific segmentations. The client could receive customized reporting. And we moved this so far that some of our customers actually integrated our service directly into their sales tools. So the data we were providing was directly handled at the customer with inside their own intranet, I may say. Another big move forward was to report on a quarterly basis. So again, the industry, the market research industry was doing the change, but Infosource, by publishing by model, of course, faced a particular challenge there. How could we publish on a quarterly by model a huge volume of data? And so there we convinced the headquarters, I mean the manufacturers, to provide centralized guidance by model. That was really a very political moment here in, I would say, in Europe. So the customers, on one hand, they appreciated the model level, but they wanted to have it on a quarterly basis. So we created a European workshop with the major brands, and we convinced them during the workshop that they had basically to provide us the data on a quarterly frequency by model. And again, I believe back then that was really, and for many years, it was a unique situation in Europe or in EMEA, so that we had the quarterly level by model provided by the manufacturers. So we maintained the contacts in the countries where we were initially researching and collecting the data for the additional data, but now we used the headquarter data for our reporting, and we used the local data for double checking. For many years, the main focus at Infosource was on EMEA. So we really perfectionized our service here. But we had several attempts during 2004 and 2014 to extend our service beyond EMEA. Again, we faced obviously the main issues we had earlier faced in Europe, different policies in America, in the US, and in Asia on sharing data. So the Infosource model was exclusive. We noticed that the Infosource model was exclusive to EMEA. And so we understood that it would take time in other areas to adapt from, or to convince the manufacturers to maybe help us in a similar way as they did it in Europe. So given that you can't build a comparable relationship in a short time, well, this kind of handicapped us in our ideas to expand. Same time, we were clearly focusing on not to compromise on quality and accuracy. So we did not want to have a two-speed service. So when I became market development director in 2011, I had basically my main focus was to work on the expansion outside EMEA. So I had a few trips. I did a few trips to the US, to Japan, China, and India, to show the Infosource model and to understand the expectations. We moved away from the centralized research from Switzerland, and we established agencies in key EMEA countries and in the USA. We increased the coverage to 60 countries in EMEA. And in 2015, we were finally ready to launch the management document scanner, the document management scanner report for Americas. That was really a big step again forward for us. In 2018, we did another big change, and that was now the next slide. So we really had a number of changes preparing here. In 2020, Infosource acquired Harvey Spencer Associates, the capture software analyst firm, well known to the capture industry. They have an excellent reputation, and they had a broad service there. And of course, we were also interested about the annual captures conference that were held by HSA. So in 2020 as well, we acquired the document imaging report. Ralph, who was before a part-time analyst already for Infosource, taking care about the scanner industry, now became a full-time analyst for the capture software. And DIR being a well-known publication amongst the hardware and software vendors, this gave us a great opportunity to add awareness of Infosource service. The now editor Brian Dion is a very jovial journalist, and he has taken over the editorial work from Ralph. So maybe I just quickly point out that the analyst research and the DIR journalism remain strictly separate areas at Infosource. And finally, so we having this activity now in the US, we incorporated a subsidiary in the USA with which now takes care about the hardware report for scanner, copy MFP, SFP, the capture software, and DIR. In 2020, we also founded an agency in Japan. Oda-san here is the representative of the agency. We started collecting Asia Pacific Japan data for 14 countries in total. And now this agency is the representation for vendors in Japan and China. With all these developments, Infosource reached this year a coverage of market data of over 90 countries worldwide. So the improved services to the capture software clients. We had 18-month cooperation between Harvey Spencer, Mike Spang, and the new team around Ralph Gammon and Petra Beck. So that gave us really a comfortable period of time to adopt and to understand the services the capture software clients were expecting from Infosource. There is a continued consultancy between the teams, and obviously the team around Ralph and Petra can also have access to Analyst presence in the key regions Infosource is covering. So this is obviously helping to improve the capture software service. Also, the capture service can now rely on a performant database and internet services that have been provided to our hardware customers over the many years. In that sense, so Infosource is once again in a unique position to combine hardware and software data. So we intend to assist the vendors from both areas with the REL research data we are obtaining on both areas. We also obviously want to maintain and extend the capture conference, and we will also develop the DIR coverage with extended regional input and also cover some other areas from the industries of Infosource. So Infosource in 2020 really entered a new era. The customer landscape has changed, and well, obviously digital transformation is now. It's not going to come. It is there. So we feel that hardware needs the software, and up to some extent also software needs the hardware, and we are in a very good position to offer a broad range of services around both areas for the market intelligence. So we feel that Infosource is today a key growth enabler and innovation catalyst that provides valuable insights into future trends and potential disruptors in the imaging, printing, and document solutions industry. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much. And I thank you for letting me present this to you, and I hand over to Ralph. Thank you very much.
Johan, thank you. Yeah, all that, everything Johan talked about is very exciting for me to now be a part, working full-time as a software analyst at Infosource. A lot of you know me. Previously, I spent about 20 years as the editor and publisher of Document Imaging Report and developed a good networks. And as part of that, I got to work closely with Harvey and Mike, the principals of Harvey Spencer Associates. So when Infosource acquired HSA, it kind of just became natural for DIR to move over as well, and me to join as a software analyst. And we've also hired, as Johan mentioned, Petra Beck as a senior software analyst, formerly with Kodak Alar. So we really have a strong team here. We have this worldwide footprint of analysts that have traditionally focused on hardware, but have had some experience with software. So we're kind of leaning on them to help us, gain more insights worldwide, and all with the strong support of Infosource behind us. We've got all this great hardware data in the database, and we're trying to put some of our more of our software information, combined with the hardware information, make it available on the database. So really do some exciting stuff over here. So yeah, I appreciate having the opportunity. Then one of the things I just got done with as part of my job as a software analyst is, if you guys are familiar with what Harvey Spencer Associates, they size the capture market, slice and dice a number of ways, talk to a number of vendors, distributors, end users, really do a good job. Really kind of, as far as I know, they're really the only analyst from that really goes in depth into sizing the capture software market this way. And so I just got done putting together the worldwide capture software report, and I've got some some numbers on that, some metrics. I'm going to spend the next half hour or so sharing with you, and then we'll leave some time for questions at the end. So really, kind of the theme is this: okay, we want to look at the data, so we know what has happened in the market historically, but then as analysts, what we're trying to look at is, okay, well, what is this saying about the future of the market? Where is capture headed? So, I guess we can start that out by defining capture. I mean, people throw all sorts of stuff out there. I mean, I published the document imaging report. I covered capture. People throw out this term IDP. Is IDP capture? Well, sort of. Kind of have our definition of capture is really, at the broadest sense, it's taking analog information and converting it to digital. But that said, it's usually, it's focused on a business process or a transaction. So, if you're talking to Alexa and you say, well, could you play me some jazz music or something like that? I mean, that's not capture software. But if you're saying to Alexa, Alexa, can you send me order something off Amazon? I need 15 beach chairs or something like that. That's the type of thing that's more of a transactional. So that's taking unstructured information, and that's really what we're looking at: ingesting it, making it into something that a business system can use. So how does it do that? How does capture software do that? Converts, classifies, acquires, takes unstructured, semi-structured information. This can be paper, this could be voice, this could be video, puts it into whatever sort of format then that a line of business system or a document repository, an ECM system, can then utilize to do its work. And obviously the goal of this is compressing, I would say, compressing processing time. We want to do this faster. We want to do this accurate. We want to make this information usable. So, obviously we all know that this trend of digital transformation, people want to get stuff done quickly. It's not enough. You can't scribble a bunch of stuff on a letter, send it in, expect, a couple of weeks, they'll get back to you. People, that doesn't happen anymore. If you are applying for a mortgage, Rocket Mortgage wants to give you instant feedback. Granted, once they give you that feedback, you still got to verify the process. You probably have to send in some sort of proof of income documents, bank statements, all that type of stuff, and all that, to finalize it. All that stuff is unstructured information that needs to be captured to finalize the process. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about capture. That is the market that we are defining. So to even take it from a broader scope here. If you guys are familiar with the work Harvey's done over the past few years, it's really defining something called Capture 2.0. Capture 2.0 is more than just about scanning and processing paper. Capture 2.0, well, let's start in the middle here. So what are we trying to do for people? I feel like this market has always started on that outside circle. We've always said we've always said, oh yeah, I've got this cool scanning technology for you, or I've got this character recognition technology, or I've got this image enhancement technology for you. But what are we doing with that technology? What's the goal? So you look in the middle of that circle right there, and what do you see? It is the middle of the circle is what we're trying to help our customers achieve growth. We're trying to help them achieve profitability. We're trying to help them achieve compliance. Okay, so how do we do that? So we got to look at business processes, areas like customer onboarding, for instance, that will help them achieve this growth. How do I get a mortgage customer on quicker? Okay, now we can start to go out into the technology section. So then we start to look at all the different types of inputs. Okay, well, so how are you getting onboarding information? Customers are calling me. Yeah, they're sending in documents. They're sending in faxes. There might be stuff in third-party systems that I need to collect, stuff we already have on file. Okay, then we can get into the outer circle, which is the technology. And that's kind of the technology set we use to address these goals our customers want to achieve. So this Capture 2.0 space is really another thing that we see is okay, how is this technology going to be delivered? Increasingly, I mean, historically, it's always been delivered kind of on-premise, perpetual license. So we really see that evolving into this more cloud capture services, on demand, being able to mix and match, being able to, okay, well, give me some voice recognition technology from here, character recognition from here, RPA technology from over here, workflow management from over here. Put that all together, then feed all the incoming information into that second layer to take it back, going from the outside in now. Then you get into addressing, all that then addresses these processes, these accounts receivable, accounts payable processes to really drive that growth, profitability, and compliance. And we view this whole thing as a $36 billion opportunity if capture technologies is used to its fullest potential. So brings us to our next slide. So how big is the capture market right now? Well, this is the data I just got done pouring through. We estimate it to be about a $5.1 billion market worldwide. In 2020, guess what? We thought it was going to be an off year. The pandemic is on setting. Second quarter, clearly people stopped doing business. Got real nervous. A lot of implementations were put off. But then third quarter comes around and people are starting to have to create these remote workforces. So as they create these remote workforces, they determine, hey, I really need capture technology to enable these remote workforces. And you'll see we have some hardware slides later that kind of show that hardware trends were more towards distributed and even personal printers and scanners and that type of stuff as people had to enable these remote workforce. But then we even saw a lot of stuff like compliance departments. Okay, well, instead of being able to have this army of workers, paging through documents or looking at stuff, in the office, they had to be able to do this stuff online, do it remotely. So we started to see capture software in many forms be implemented more of in a remote way in the third and fourth quarter. And the end of the year, we ended up seeing a market that we thought was going to decline in 2020. We saw actually grew 5%. And we'll talk about some of the areas where that growth came. But it was kind of an exciting year, kind of an eye-opening year. A lot of stuff happened that we think is, accelerate a lot of trends we had already seen in place. But like I said, I'll get to some of that in the next couple of slides. But just to tie together this slide to finish it up, if you look at the markets we're talking about today, I mean, a lot of the numbers are going to give you our worldwide numbers, worldwide trends. But if you can just kind of cut those in half and say North America and LATAM, which are kind of the two markets we're focused on due to our audience today, that makes up about 50% of the capture market in 2020. A trend that may change a couple percentage points here and there, but generally that's about the size of the market we're talking about. Really, those are the two big areas for, well, obviously North America is a huge market for capture sales, about 47% of the market. So how was the market evolving? I mean, obviously, I think we all kind of know this. We've seen this in the past. The market was moving more towards front office on demand type capture, more distributed capture. I mean, traditionally it's always been, back office batch scanning. You picture these high speed scanners, and then you've got a bunch of dedicated workers doing validation and key entry to kind of, for exceptions, all that type of stuff. But that, that obviously that's the bottom segment on this chart. If you look at the middle segment, that's kind of where the growth has been. That front office on demand, that market has been growing in double digits, and in fact grew double digits through the pandemic. And then if you look at the top two segments, so that's kind of where we're really seeing some exciting growth. That's the RPA IDP market. So basically, that's two factors of the RPA market. One is traditional capture integrated with IDP as well as, or integrated with RPA as well as IDP, which is what kind of these RPA vendors refer to their own developed capture products. So that's kind of the lighter green segment. Then the darker green segment is what we call non-IDP. So this is, I'll talk about the intersection of RPA and capture, but really RPA uses a lot of capture techniques. Both markets are about reducing keystrokes. So even though some of this RPA stuff is structured input, it is also it does data validation, data augmentation, which are really capture steps. So that's really what the dark green screen or the dark green segment on there signifies. So actually, the RPA market grew 58% on its own. The RPA market grew about 60%, and the capture portion of RPA grew about 58%. So that really drove a lot of growth in 2020. So that's why we think it's important for anyone in the capture market to really get a handle on RPA. So what exactly is RPA, and how does that intersect with capture? So if you look at the bottom part of this slide on the right, task automation. So that's what we really consider RPA to be. RPA is really about eliminating keystrokes in repetitive tasks. A lot of it is, though, going from one system, a system of structured data, one system of structured data to another. It might be a website that's got structured data, but RPA doesn't deal with a lot of exception. It deals with structured data. So where's capture coming from? Capture's coming from the top part of that. So capture is a lot of historical capture has been captured to a repository. Then we kind of moved into capture to workflows, and eventually something gets dumped into a repository. But where does all this come together? So the RPA guys, so they want to get into more unstructured stuff because they've done a lot of the low-hanging fruit. So they're a little, I think, worried about, okay, they have these tremendous growth expectations by their investors, and to really drive that growth, they need to move to more into this idea of unstructured automation. So that includes unstructured input, which is what Capture's specialty is, as well as workflow and more exception handling, which is where this idea, this process automation is kind of a combination of that structured input and structured task, plus the unstructured input and unstructured task. So kind of the sweet spot for that is we're seeing this idea of low-code automation. So you see companies like AIIM, you see companies like Pega, ServiceNow, Microsoft is starting to get into this, and they're kind of combining capture, and they're kind of combining RPA, and really creating this market called process automation. And we really think that is where a lot of the future, the sweet spot of this market is going to be. So it's not going to be just capture. It's not going to be just RPA. It's really going to be this concept of, okay, can I automate a customer onboarding process that includes both structured processes and unstructured input and unstructured processes? One thing I will say, I think people who have done capture in a lot of ways is the hard part, the unstructured stuff. The thing that's going to make it difficult is the RPA guys, they kind of went on, I don't want to say the easy stuff, but they were able to leverage a lot of machine learning to copy keystrokes and to come up with really establish a footprint, really establish it's fairly quick to compared to and uncomplicated in many cases compared to a capture process. So what they've done is gotten a lot of these structured processes and automated them and have these footprints and are able to leverage their customers. So like I said, that's where there is opportunity to partner with these guys, but they're also trying to come out with their own capture technologies because they really have to drive growth. So we're trying to look at the market. Now, historically, Harvey Spencer Associates has come from, and I think the whole market has come from looking at the market from that breakdown that I showed you before. That's the technology breakdown. So are you doing back office batch, you're doing front office? We're trying to move towards in the future in our forecasting is this idea of case management or use cases. And this idea of case management really being the fastest growing use case. And so why is that? Case management is a lot of cases, it's more complex than records management. That's not to say that people still aren't doing records management. Records management, there's a lot of compliance out there. A lot of people, looking to comply with regulations, whether it be privacy, highly regulated industries have always bought a lot of capture in order to improve their records management capabilities and rather to automate them. But really, that's there's a lot more payback, a lot more bang for your buck, a lot more ROI when you're talking about case management on the front end, being able to help a customer get on board faster, being able to have less people, you're doing an underwriting insurance, to automate more of that, to be able to understand these unstructured documents, not have to have a knowledge worker read through this type of stuff. There's a lot of this AI technology that's not being introduced in the capture market that's enabling us to process and to get a better understanding of this unstructured input, whether that is a traditional document, whether that's a voice message, whether that's a PDF, whether it's a contract that we haven't necessarily done through capture in the past. Accounting has obviously been a big growth market for us. Invoice processing is kind of one of the, if you look at that, that's been one of the sweet spots over the past 10 years. And we see that kind of leveling off, but still growing as we expanded into more accounting P2P type processes. But that's what we're going to really focus on going forward, is really, like I said, less on the technology and more on the cases. And that's really being able to be enabled by this idea of capture as a service. So capture as a service, putting capture on the cloud, making it a du jour type of thing. Okay, well, I want help with my my onboarding. So and maybe I'm getting I'm starting to get a handprint documents coming in. So okay, well, where can I license a handprint service? So Microsoft and Google done a great job coming up with new handprint. Well, there's also companies like Hyperscience that have done a great job, and Periscript has done a great job with it for years. So, I might not need this technology for every application, but I might be able to go out and license a cloud service and pay by use. And that's where we see capture headed. And that's why we think the focus is going to be more on use cases, and then looking at your customers and saying, okay, well, what process do you need automated, and what technologies can I bring to bear to automate these, as opposed to, you walking around with a pre-configured set of services that you've always had from your capture vendor and trying to fit that into your customers' applications. So to talk about, as Johan mentioned, we've always covered hardware, and we've covered hardware for years. And this will give you an idea of how, we see the market moving from the back office to the front office. Our hardware analyst, Barbara Richards, shared these couple slides with me to present to you. And if you look at, 2019, so 2019, you had, pretty healthy year. Before 2019, the market for scanners is fairly flat, but we're still selling a lot of scanners because, as we move forward, and you'll see we have paper is definitely declining, but the paper that comes in, it's more important than ever to really onboard that and digitize that and apply capture technology to it. So, we saw the personal segment was, kind of flat, but workgroup was very healthy before that, as people buy this stuff for business applications. Well, in 2020, we saw the personal segment really hold as people bought scanners more often for distributor home offices. So those are typically going to be 15 to 20 minute page scanners. Workgroup scanners kind of went down a bit, but look what happens in 2021. Workgroup scanners come back strong because, at least in the first half, because a lot of stuff put on hold, people come back to the office. There's kind of been this revolution. A lot of people, working remotely. We've had to digitize processes that maybe we could get away with paper previously, but now that we're having less, personal interactions, we need more digitized process. So we really saw a kind of a boost in workgroup sales in the first half of 2021. But if you look to the right-hand side here, what we did not see was a bounce back in production sales. Production, I said there's historical, the back office, batch, that type of market. That was obviously down in 2020 with less on-site visits. It became harder and harder to sell these big back office implementations. Even some service bureaus had to stop operations till they could get themselves ready to deal with social distancing and all that type of stuff. And 2021, even though we've seen some bounce back, some stuff was put on hold, that market has still not come back. I think that, if you look at these hardware sales, that just speaks to the long-term trend of distributed capture, distributed scanning. Our other hardware, we cover with print. Look at this. This is, everyone thought the print market was moving to color, but as soon as pandemic hit, it looks like people are just trying to get the the cheapest, desktop type of application, type of MFP printers that they can get. And black and white personal market really took off, grew in 2020 while the color market declined. And in 2021, there's people continue to outfit these distributed home offices. So you look at our verticals, right? In terms of, capture verticals, kind of this is stuff, I think we all know this. I mean, banking and financial services have always been big users of capture technology just because of competitive pressures. They really need to digitize and get their stuff done quickly. Insurance, second biggest user, a lot of paperwork. Actually, banking and financial services in 2020 was a little bit down just because of very transaction driven. And there were just less transactions, less financial transactions. I mean, mortgage market remained healthy, but a lot of other transactions were just down. So that kind of was a little bit flat. We expect that to bounce back as economies recover. Insurance was actually very strong in 2020. Insurance companies didn't have a lot of claims. They seemed to have a lot of time to focus on really digitizing their processes as people wanted to interact more remotely. Healthcare was not real strong in 2020. Healthcare markets obviously had other concerns, really focused on COVID and still kind of focused on that. Their in-house in-person visits were way down. A lot of elective procedures were down. We did see a big spike in telemedicine in the second quarter of the year. That kind of leveled off, but it still was still much higher than it was previous to the pandemic. And we see that as an opportunity for kind of Capture 2.0 technology, being able to capture video and audio from those telehealth visits and enter them into patient records. If you look at this idea, these federal, you can see the federal and central government, as well as the state and local government, public sector, kind of a interesting year in 2020. State and local was actually very healthy as federal governments were always ahead of state and local when it came to digitizing processes. State and local were further behind and really were forced to implement a lot of digital processes in 2020. We expect that to continue in 2021. A lot of the funding is coming from the federal or central governments are funding these state and local initiatives towards digitization. If federal government, we're going to have at our conference, we're going to have a speaker on the M1921, so specific to the U.S. market. There are some opportunities around NARA, demanding that agencies submit stuff in electronic format or use offsite storage. So there is going to be some conversion opportunities in the federal government in the U.S. In 2021. Those are unfunded initiatives, and like I said at our Capture conference, it's coming up in Chicago in a couple of weeks, so we're going to have more details on that. Some of the other interesting markets, though, over the next 5 years are stuff like energy and telecom utilities. These markets are, and manufacturing to some extent, the stuff that they're dealing with supply chain right now. I mean, these markets are dealing with a lot of pressures, a lot of change. Full move to renewable energies. We're seeing a lot of new companies kind of enter with modern infrastructure. So we feel there is some capture opportunities. Legal market, we feel there's legal markets kind of been stuck. They've kind of utilized in person so they can charge for the hours, that type of thing. But they've really been forced to go to virtual, due to the pandemic. So some opportunities in these smaller markets as well going forward. So kind of talking about the, let me give myself a time check here. I want to kind of try and wind down, leave some time for questions. But what we're seeing in the market, I mean, this is obviously, Capture's always been heavily reliant on perpetual on-site licenses and maintenance. I mean, that's driven the bulk of implementations. Capture has been slower to move to cloud. 2020 really kind of drove that. The pandemic drove a lot. I think we saw 5%, growth, maybe from 10 to 15% of the market went from hosted capture, 10% in 2019, 15% in 2020. Went to the cloud, and a lot of that, like I said, was driven by remote workers needing to, access stuff, and it's just more convenient to access validation, key entry, all that type of stuff through a hosted capture service. We expect that to accelerate. I mean, one thing I'll just share that from the ECM market. I mean, the ECM market was always, it took a while, but it's ahead of the capture market. But I remember 10 years ago, a lot of people were investing in cloud services. Like, okay, well, where's the adoption? Where's the adoption? I feel like we're kind of the same place with capture. We're starting to see, IBM, OpenText, some of the bigger players invested in cloud services, and really didn't see a ton of adoption. But really in 2020, that accelerated. We expect that to continue to move forward. There's always going to be, if you're a VAR integrator out there, I think there's always going to be opportunity for professional services. These aren't self-serve cloud type applications. I mean, you still have to have someone with some expertise in document processes from what we've seen to set these up. But that is where the market is headed. And kind of the other thing, I mean, this is give an idea of, we're definitely seeing more electronic input. A lot of the growth, this has to deal, just to be clear, this has to deal with capture software sold in conjunction, capture software being used to address this type of input. And you can see that capture software sold with scanners is declining. We're starting to see a lot of more capture software used for stuff like PDF input that comes in with an email. Starting to see more use in conjunction with mobile. A lot of that is JPEG images of documents. I mean, still the majority of the document is being, or majority of the market used to be addressed some sort of document format, like I said, whether that's PDF, scanned paper, JPEGs, whatever the case. But we really think there is opportunity to take all this knowledge we have about unstructured documents, all this expertise, and as millennials, come on board and want to move more towards electronic documents, or not even electronic documents, just electronic input, whether it be voice input, text input, social media. We really think there's going to be an opportunity to take this this knowledge of unstructured processes and really address that. And I really think there's going to be some hyper growth in that in another 5 years down the road. So just some key takeaways. I guess you can kind of read these. I want to do, like I said, I want to leave some room for questions. If you just take a look at that, there's where we really see some of the opportunity in the market going forward. So Craig, are there any questions? How do you want to open up the floor for questions? We got about 10 minutes here.
Yeah, Ralph, we do indeed. And we definitely have, in anticipation of some of the things that you covered, and we expected, I'm sure, as such. You touched on RPA, and one of the questions that had come in before you covered the subject was where bots and capture, or capture including bots, the coexistence in RPA. Do you find, and the precise question is, do you find in the implementation and evaluation process through centers of excellence, COEs, that capture is top on the list as part of the implementation process, or is the robotization really all about everything with capture as an afterthought? So great question. How do you see that, Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the RPA got done a great job getting mind share, and really getting mind share amongst a lot of these top systems integration firms, a lot of people that haven't traditionally come from capture. So what they'll do is, they'll come in and they'll automate some processes, and then they'll say, well, yeah, we can do unstructured input too. And then they'll start scrambling around, and they may have capture partners established. They may try to address it with their own capture. In a lot of cases, it maybe doesn't do a great job, but maybe the customer is unaware. So really what we see, unless the center of excellence has an established capture process. So it's a shared services center, at a telecom that's used to processing tons of documents. But if they are starting with an RPA centric view, and they've got Deloitte in there, they've got any of these big six firms, or any sort of integration firm that focuses on RPA, they really look at they're coming from a process automation standpoint. I really think that is where a lot of the market opportunity is going to be, because capture is starting, it's going to become more integrated, more lost. I mean, yeah, there's a certain segment of the market that understands what capture is because they've been processing heavy amounts of paper for years. But really the growth area we see is really in these areas of process automation where capture, I don't want to say it's an afterthought, but it's really not the focus. It's okay, well, I want to automate this customer onboarding process. So I've got this CEM system or the CEM people that may be involved in this. So what else is there? Okay, RPA is very important for CEM because RPA goes out and I might have information about this customer from 6 different systems. But then if the customer has to send in documentation to follow up, oh, okay, well now let me pull in some capture technology. And it's really important to position yourselves to become part of that opportunity and not get left out. And as I said, I mean, these RPA guys are really, anyone involved with RPA, they know that they have to, I mean, a lot of the higher margin stuff, a lot of the more difficult stuff is this area of unstructured input, this area of being able to handle exceptions, to bring humans into the loop, into the RPA process. So this is somewhere that they want to transition to get to. So yeah, there's a lot of, the space is going to get crowded. There's a lot of opportunity out there, but yeah, it's important to position yourselves to become part of that opportunity.
Okay, good, Ralph. And we've just got a couple of minutes before we end, but we did get a couple of great questions. They went to moderator, to Aaron, and I'll ask Aaron to read those, and then we'll close out for today. Aaron?
Okay, so the first question, the scope illustration cites many data formats. I do not see Office files listed. However, in RPA, Excel files are frequently used. Are Office file formats a relevant source of digital capture applications?
Yeah, and like I said, yeah, in RPA, that definitely, and that's, we did have other electronic input on there, and I think that would include Office files. We don't see a ton of Office files as input. Most of the time, they seem to be converted to PDF before someone emails them. And I think in RPA, especially as Microsoft moves deeper into RPA and offers those process automation robots and capture even associated with Office 365. Yeah, I think we'll start to see some more of that going forward. But right now, it's not a huge part of the capture market, or from what I can tell, a huge part of the RPA market. But I think it will grow in importance as Microsoft moves deeper into that area themselves.
Great questions in that from our good friend Neil Fisher. Aaron, any others that have come to you before?
Yeah, real quick. One of the questions was, can the deck be shared? I'll be following up with everyone, sending you a link to the video of this webinar. But if you would like a copy of the slide deck, please reply and let me know. I'll be happy to send that to you. So here's the other question. Given the improved cameras on phones, how well have mainstream capture providers embraced robust mobile document capture? Any innovative use cases, such as what banking has done with check deposits?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of it, yeah, what we're seeing in mobile capture, what we started to see, especially during the pandemic, was, like I said, people just really capturing JPEG images, and then the capture vendors have to deal with it on the back end. And everyone's got some sort of innovative, image processing is great compared to what it was 10 years ago, but there's definitely challenges associated with that. I mean, sure, it's nice to be able, if you could create a nice app from which is what MyTech has done with checks, but we see more, there are a lot of good capture apps out there for documents, people doing ID capture, for instance. But unfortunately, what we're seeing a lot of now, we saw kind of come to rise, especially in 2020, was really, I want to say it was, and I've seen this in developing markets as well. People just really capturing stuff, not even understanding, PDFs or documents, and just sending it in as a JPEG and leaving the capture, the capture vendor, the service provider, or the bank, or whoever, to deal with it on the back end. And I think there is some more opportunity for doing a better job, realizing you're going to get those types of images and processing them, coming up with some algorithms for processing those.
Maybe I can add to that. I mean, we are seeing here this summer applications, obviously around the COVID certificates, and obviously there we see the handling on mobile devices on both sides. So the customer coming, for example, the client coming with his mobile device or her mobile device and having a barcode on the device with the COVID certificate, and on the let's say the restaurant side or the event side, you have a mobile device scanning this, and obviously there's a transmission of data then and checking the validity of the COVID certificate.
Okay, thank you, Johan. We have one more quick question. We're trying to be respectful of people's time, so I'm going to have to cut it off at this. Ralph, is it more about quality of the image versus risk of images being on users' phones?
People do, I mean, yeah, if you want to do a secure transaction, obviously you need some sort of app. I unfortunately, and I mean, we see security breaches every day. I don't think most users really worry about this too much. And yes, if you can set up a secure transaction, you have control over it, and you can get the image off the phone and set all that up. That's great. I just unfortunately, I don't think that has been it hasn't been communicated very well to the end user community, the importance of that type of security.
Thank you. Craig? Okay, folks, so Craig has been having he had a storm come in last night. He's been having some connectivity issues. Really quick, I'd like to introduce Larry Cohn with Business Process Automation Company. We've invited him to take a minute and talk a little bit about our September 30th webinar, which we hope you all can attend. I'll be sending more information out about that, of course. So Larry?
All right, thanks a lot, Erin. It's good to see everybody, and very, very good presentation today. It actually leads well into what I'll be speaking about next month, is the actual application and deployment of all of the components necessary to have a seamless capture, archive, data extraction solution put in place, addressing both the hosted and on-prem solutions, and how best to get these implemented and designed for each individual industry and each individual customer. So I'll look forward to everyone attending, and look forward to sharing my 30 years of experience in the industry.
Thank you, Larry. We're definitely looking forward to that, and we appreciate that very much. We don't often have our next speaker on, so we want to give a little bit of an overview, and we thank you for that very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll wrap up, and we know that there were still some questions out there. We do have the upcoming Capture Conference September 8th and 9th at Eaglewood Resort and Spa outside of Chicago, just near O'Hare. It's an easy in, easy to the resort, and then easy back out again. So we invite you all, but we will be having clips that we'll post that may even address some of these questions. So stay tuned, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and you'll probably see some questions that you had remaining to answer. And in the interim, if you have questions, we're always here to help. CL@info-source.com and Infosource@info-source.com. The latter email, you can certainly reach out and get samples of our reports, look at the subject matters of what Infosource covers, and arrange for what we call 5 at 30 sessions. So very well. Again, thank you very much. Thank you to Ralph, Johan, the entire Infosource team, and we hope to see you in Chicago with us. If not, we'll, and I'm being corrected, it's info@info-source.com. I was reading off of the email box they come in, so thank you for that correction. Info@info-source.com. All right, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you Thursday, September 30th, if not before, in Chicago, and with Larry and his great presentation, and covering everything as it's entitled, Putting Together the Technologies for Efficiency, Compliance, and Security. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for supporting the AIIM Florida chapter. Bye now.
Thank you.